Good morning and welcome to BenBinFro's Thought for the Day for Tuesday the 29th of March. My name is James and I live in the hamlet of Islington. Today's passage is from the Old Testament, from Exodus chapter 2 verses 23 to chapter 3 verse 20, with the Bible text coming from the New International Version, NIV. Exodus chapter 2 verses 23 to chapter 3 verses 20. During the long period, the king of Egypt died. The Israelites groaned in their slavery and cried out, and their cries of help because of their slavery went up to God. God heard their groaning, and he remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. So God looked on the Israelites and was concerned about them. Moses and the burning bush. Chapter 3. Now Moses was tending the flock of Jericho, his father-in-law, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the far side of the wilderness, and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. There the angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. Moses saw that though the bush was on fire, it did not burn up. So Moses thought, I will go over and see what this strange sight, why this bush does not burn up. When the Lord saw that he had gone over to look, God called to him from within the bush, Moses, Moses. And Moses said, Here I am. Do not come any closer, God said. Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground. Then he said, I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob. And at this Moses hid his face, because he was afraid to look at God. The Lord said, I have indeed seen the misery of my people in Egypt. I have heard them crying out because of their slave drivers. And I am concerned about their suffering. So I have come down to rescue them from the hand of the Egyptians, and to bring them out of the land into a good and spacious land, a land flowing with milk and honey, the home of the Canaanites, Hittites, Ammonites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites. And now the cry of the Israelites has reached me, and I have seen the way the Egyptians are opposing them. So now go, I am sending you to Pharaoh, to bring my people, the Israelites, out of Egypt. But Moses said to God, Who am I, that I should go to Pharaoh and bring the Israelites out of Egypt? And God said, I will be with you, and this will be the sign to you, that it is I who have sent you. When you have brought the people out of Egypt, you will worship God on this mountain. Moses said to God, Suppose I go to the Israelites and say to them, God of your fathers has sent me to you. And they ask me, What is his name? Then what shall I tell them? God said to Moses, I am who I am. This is what you are to say to the Israelites. I am has sent me to you. God also said to Moses, Say to the Israelites, the Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, the name you shall call me from generation to generation. Go, assemble the elders of Israel, and say to them, The Lord, the God of your fathers, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, appeared to me and said, I have watched over you, and have seen what has been done to you in Egypt. And I have promised to bring you out of misery in Egypt, into the land of the Canaanites, Hivites, Amorites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, a land flowing with milk and honey. The elders of Israel will listen to you. Then you and the elders are to go to the king of Egypt and say to him, The Lord, the God of the Hebrews, has met with us. Let us take a 3-day journey into the wilderness to offer sacrifices to the Lord our God. But I know that the king of Egypt will not let you go unless a mighty hand complies him. So I will stretch out my hand and strike the Egyptians with all the wonders that I will perform amongst them. After that, he will let you go. This morning, we're blessed to be in the Old Testament and maybe a familiar story of the beginning of the Exodus, the beginning of, or the plan that's put into place to bring the Israelites who've been in initially service and then slavery to the Egyptians, and have basically helped build that country. Potentially at that time, the most mighty ruling nation on the earth. And when I reread this passage, some bits I'd forgotten, and three things came to me, three simple things that I wanted to share with you. Number one, God remembers. God remembers our prayers and our petitions. And we read in chapter 2, verse 24, that he had made a covenant, a promise, and he remembered that promise, and he wanted to do something about it. Number two, God is with us, from chapter 3, verses 12. He speaks to us, and he walks ahead of us. So here he is speaking to Moses through the burning bush that actually isn't burning, yet another miracle of God performing a miracle on his earth. But also, when Moses sort of says, "No way, Jose, could I do that? Who am I to go and speak to the Pharaoh?" God tells him that he will be ahead of him and he will prepare the way. And that's something I hold close because isn't it wonderful to have God working ahead of us? In what we're doing later today, during our Tuesdays, God has been ahead of us and has smoothed the way for us and prepared the way. And what a great promise that is. And number three, God is power, from chapter 3, verse 20. And he will stretch out his hand and he will call his power down. And as we know the story, he does that many, many times. And eventually, actually we're leading up to Easter, aren't we? And the festival of Passover. And that comes directly from the extension of this story, where God passes over the Israelites' houses and kills the firstborn in all the Egyptian houses. And that ultimately leads to the Israelites being freed from their yoke of oppression under the Egyptian rule. So we have the power to call down God's mighty hand. How God acts isn't for us to say, but we have that power through that relationship we have with God. And how wonderful that we know the Lord Almighty. So wherever or however this thought for the day is meeting with you this morning, remember that your relationship with God, remember that that God does extraordinary things, and that it's our relationship with this God and our God doing extraordinary things in our lives. So we have a lot to be grateful for. Amen.